In my opinion, goaltending is the most difficult position to pick in fantasy because they're so volatile and goalies are all over the map in drafts right now. But in this video, I'm going to be breaking down my 7 favorite goalies going into the 25-26 NHL season based on their ADP, based on the value that you can get out of them. This is going to be a good video, guys, and it always is. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Starting this list off with Jakob Markstrom of the New Jersey Devils. This may be the highest ADP goaltender on this list and maybe one of the higher ADP players that I even have in my video, because I think all the value that you can find out of goaltenders is a little bit later in drafts. But for Jakob Markstrom going into the season, I do think he has the upside to be a top 5 to 7 goaltender. It's just contingent on his injury history, and the ADP kind of reflects that, and we're seeing him actually fall a little bit later into drafts, about round 7, round 8, which to me is a really good time to pick your first goaltender, and you can't go wrong taking Jakob Markstrom as your goaltender number 1. Now, I think the Devils should have a pretty big rebound season. They were without Dougie Hamilton for a good portion of last year. They were missing Luke Hughes for a little bit last year. We know Jack Hughes continues to be injured each and every season. But if we finally get to see a fully healthy, a little bit older of a team, a more mature young core, I assume this team will be considerably better and be a playoff contender like they were just 2 years ago. So Markstrom last season, 26-16-6 record, a 250 goals against average, a 900 save percentage, 4 shutouts. All of this happened in 24-25. The concern with the save percentage is very, very similar to Jake Ottinger, where they just don't allow a whole lot of shots. So the goaltender gets hurt in the save percentage because of that, but the goals against average is benefited. And I think Markstrom, to me, he's going about 40 picks later than Ottinger. And if he played the full season, the 50-60 games that he was on pace for, the numbers would have been really, really similar. So New Jersey over the last 3 seasons, and the reason why I'm shouting this out is because for me, I like to take goaltenders that are on good teams. And if they're not on good teams, they're just a volume play. But for Markstrom, he's on a really good New Jersey Devils team. Over the last 3 seasons, a 52% Corsi for percentage, ranked number 6, 293 goals for, rank 11. So that should only help his win percentage this season. 53% expected goals for percentage, ranked number 5, and almost a 58% win percentage. This is over the last 3 seasons. Last year wasn't what they thought it was going to be for the Devils, but if they can get back to their 2023, 24 form when they were extremely, extremely good, I think Markstrom can be in for a massive season at ADP 83. We're projecting this year 57 starts, 35 wins, 144 goals against, 2.52 goals against average, a 904 save percentage, and almost 1,400 saves. A lot of love for Markstrom this season. Let's jump over to the next goaltender. Oh, people aren't going to like this, and I took some heat for this in the mock draft for drafting Juuse Saros, but I'm on Saros this season. I'm a big believer in rebound seasons for goaltenders and for players in general. And you're able to draft Saros at like a 70 ADP discount. If I'm not mistaken, I would say for the last 2 or 3 seasons prior to the one of last year, he was going like goaltender 5 to 7 off the board. So everyone is off Saros this year. I'm seeing him fall to the 11th round in my competitive mock drafts right now. So I went back, I looked at his rankings since 2022. Number 1 in the NHL in saves, number 2 in the NHL in starts, number 10 in goals saved above expected, and number 12 in save percentage. Now, the save percentage number, you may be questioning, how does a 908 rank 12? I sorted it by starting goaltenders, not backup goaltenders, because when you add in the backup goaltenders, all the numbers get skewed, especially with the goals against average and save percentage. And remember, these stats, these rankings, they include the bad season he had in 24-25. And I want to talk about the Nashville Predators just a little bit. It's very common for teams that trade for a bunch of new players. They had like 3 or 4 new top 6 players. It's common for a team to struggle because they have to learn the systems. They have to learn their chemistry. They have to learn the power play. It was a mess in Nashville last season. I'm expecting them to rebound, to regress back to the mean, and be just an overall better team. But with Saros, you get a guy who's coming off, excluding last season, back-to-back 64-plus start seasons. So if you're in save leagues, or if you're in points leagues, Saros is an absolute machine in fantasy, and you're getting him at a huge discount. If he even returns to half of what he was a couple of seasons ago, he will pay off huge value for you in drafts. So I am all over Saros this year. Probably going to be my highest owned goaltender across all of my leagues just because of the discount we're able to get him at. So this season, we're projecting 62 games played, 31 wins, 165 goals against, 268 goals against average, a 910 save percentage, and almost 1,700 saves. A lot of love from us for Juuse Saros going into the 25-26 season. This is another one that I don't think people are going to like, and I always take heat on my goalie videos. I did big time last season with Darcy Kemper. I remember the Stuart Skinner season where we predicted his breakout with potentially faltering with Jack Campbell. So I'm going to take some heat in this video. It's a difficult video to make, but I love doing it. Jeremy Swayman, Boston Bruins, is my next goalie that I'm on this season. Huge down season, and very similar to Saros, you're getting him at a huge discount again. He signed a massive contract with the Bruins. He's their no doubt starter. He'll get all the volume again this season. But the biggest thing for me is last year, before we knew that there was contract issues, he was going in like round 4 and 5, and now you're able to grab him around 10 plus. So I know the Bruins, and a lot of people are really scared with how bad they'll be this season. They won't be elite, but I cannot see them as a bottom 5 team. They're going to have McAvoy healthy to start the season. They're going to have Hampus Lindholm back and be healthy for the season. They still have David Pastrnak. And the thing with Swayman last season is he didn't start the year and he didn't have a preseason. He wasn't really training with the team or practicing with the team because he wasn't signed. And we kind of knew that he was going to falter because of that. So looking at his career numbers with Swayman, we have a pretty good sample of it too. 190 starts, a 258 goals against average, a 910 save percentage, and a 101, 62, and 22 record. Again, he was selected to play for Team USA, who has a plethora of really elite goaltenders, and he was still the third goaltender on that team. So I have a lot of love for Swayman this season. I think it's going to be another bounce back season for him. The Bruins historically, and I know they're without Marchand, they don't have Patrice Bergeron anymore, but historically they have been a very elite defensive team. They don't have the goal scoring, but I think based on their systems and some of the players, they should still be a pretty strong defensive team. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, but I'm going to be drafting Swayman at a massive ADP discount. It's a volume play too. We're projecting him for 57 games played, 27 wins, 146 goals against, a 254 goals against average, a 909 save percentage, and almost 1,500 saves this season. I'm really high on Swayman. I would not be mad if you chose Saros and Swayman as your 2 goaltenders this year, and potentially a third goalie as a backup, maybe Dostal later, and we'll get into Dostal in a bit. I know he's going to be in this video. But I like Swayman a lot this season, and hopefully you do too, but I'm really interested to what people think about this take. Sam Montembeault is the next goaltender on this list, and you may not be surprised. A lot of people have been shouting him out in the comments. A lot of people thought that because I didn't include him in my top 20 that I don't like him. I don't think he falls in the range of the top 20 goaltenders in the league, but for fantasy, I think he could be a massive sleeper this season. I don't think he's an elite goalie on the ice, but I think he's a starter, and he's being drafted in round 11 plus, and there's not many starters that are going to be available that late in drafts. So Montreal's a really, really exciting team. They squeaked in the playoffs last season. We know how good their young core is becoming, and they're aging, they're getting better and more mature. But now they added Noah Dobson, who is a legitimate number 1 defenseman, plus the growth of their youth. I think Montreal could be a top 10 team this season. It's hard to say because that division is so competitive, but with the Bruins faltering, with the Buffalo Sabres faltering, Montreal could be the next team up to be really good this season. Now, I went back and looked at Montembeault's stats last season. 62 starts for Montembeault, ranked number 2 in the NHL, and he added 1,500 saves, ranked number 6. My biggest concerns are just the goals against and save percentage numbers in category leagues. The volume will be there, which is very, very good for points leagues, but it's just the goals against and save percentage are faltering just a bit. But for Montembeault this season, 62 starts again, 31 wins, 179 goals against, 292 goals against average, a 903 save percentage, and nearly 1,700 saves. We're expecting big things out of Montembeault this season. The biggest drawback, again, is going to be the goals against and save percentage, but if he can improve on those, even a 275 goals against and a 910 save percentage, he has the opportunity to finish as a top 10 to 12 goaltender this season. Going at ADP 121, almost goalie 27 off the board right now. So I really like Montembeault going into this season. I would just caution because I feel like he's being overdrafted a little bit too much right now. Karel Vejmelka is actually a really underrated goalie, and I didn't really have him on my radar until I started actually looking into some of the numbers. He's going ADP 153, which is pretty much at the end of a lot of drafts, like round 13, 14. And I think he's a really solid goalie 2 or goalie 3 options that's going super late in drafts. So in 24-25, he had 58 starts, ranked number 8, almost 1,400 saves, ranked 15, a 258 goals against average, rank 14, and a 5.90 goals saved above expected, rank number 20. So he's within the top 20 of 4 major counting stats, yet he's still goaltender 24 off the board based on the current ADP and based on what we've seen in the mock drafts. And if you're like me and you think the Utah Mammoth will be a considerably better team this season with the growth of their young players, a healthy Sean Durzi going into this year, they have John Marino on the back end, Sergachev on the back end. They're a very well structured and a really good chemistry group. And I think Utah will be very, very competitive this season. They may be even squeak into playoffs. And for me, drafting Vejmelka as your goaltender 3 in round 14, round 15, it should pay off huge value for you. So we're projecting him for 57 games played, 32 wins, 156 goals against, a 272 goals against average, a 906 save percentage, and over 1,500 saves. We think Vejmelka is going to be the clear-cut starter this year. He had really, really good numbers last season. A 258 goals against average just can't be ignored. He was a workhorse with 58 starts. So I'm on him big time this season. I think he'll be a very, very valuable pick. And the goaltender everyone's been waiting for, there have been a lot of comments. It's between Montembeault and Dostal, or 2 goalies I'm seeing a lot about. So I tried to look back and see how many times I talked about Dostal last season. I came across 4 videos. I drafted him with the last overall pick in the Fantasy Puck Patreon League Division 2 draft, and he was a league winner for the first 12 weeks. But the reason why we were kind of on him, like we were a little late, is because Gibson was still there. But then it came out that Gibson had appendicitis late last season or late in the preseason, and Dostal was going to take over as the starter, and he was very good as the starter. But he faltered in the second half. But for me, I think Dostal will be a workhorse goalie. He has the potential to lead the NHL in saves this season with how bad Anaheim is, especially defensively. I don't really see them being that much better going into the new year. But for me, I think with Dostal, if you're in points leagues, he is very, very elite because of the volume. But in category leagues, I would be very cautious. He had a sub 900 save percentage and over 3 goals against average last year. So I'd be a little bit concerned. I went back and looked at some of his stats. I think that's the 5th time I've said that. Last season, he averaged 28.79 saves per game, the number 1 save volume per game in the NHL last season. I think he'll be one of the highest, if not the highest, volume goalies this season in terms of games played and saves. Mrazek's the backup. He may get a 25-30% start share, but trading Gibson away just proves the point that Dostal is their goaltender of the future, and I like him a lot going into the season. Again, similar to Montembeault, I'm just worried he's going to be a little bit overdrafted, but if you can see him there in round 10, 11, 12, I think it's a good time to draft him, and I would not draft him as your goalie 1, but I think he's a very solid goalie 2 option. So for some of my deeper league viewers or those who are in really competitive leagues and like to play a 0 goalie strategy, I always like to throw one oddball out there, and this year it's going to be Kevin Lankinen of the Vancouver Canucks. Currently ADP 189. He's the last goalie, if you look at Yahoo ADP, that actually has an ADP, but it looks like he's not being drafted at all. And I have my reasonings for why I think he may be a lottery ticket pick for you in your drafts. So we know the Thatcher Demko injury is pretty serious, and there was reports that came out that he will be dealing with it for his entire career. So that tells me he's susceptible to injury for the entire season. He carries a lot of risk. I love Thatcher Demko as a goaltender, but now with this new knee injury, I have a little bit of concern. Now, Lankinen last year was very good in relief for a disastrous Canucks team. 51 total starts, 25, 15, and 10 record, a 262 goals against average, and a 902 save percentage. Those are great numbers for a guy that you were able to add off of waivers. And I know in some of my category leagues, he was like a very, very valuable waiver pickup. And I know I talked about and I touted Juuse Saros, but we know Saros did get pulled at the Four Nations, and Lankinen came in relief and was very, very good for them. So he had his first season last year as a legitimate starter on a team that had a lot of problems. Like we had a hurt Quinn Hughes with the JT Miller trade, and we had Elias Pettersson putting up rookie numbers. And Lankinen still managed to have a 262 goals against average. So I think you can take him in the last round of your draft as a lottery ticket pick. The contingency is if Demko gets hurt, Lankinen will immediately shoot up into top 15 goalie category. I think it's a solid late round play. We can't project him for more than a 50% start share, but that's currently what we have. I can't see them playing Demko 60 plus starts, especially with that injury. I haven't seen any reports on the severity of it going into this season, but from what I remember with the reports, it's going to be dealing with it for his entire career. So for Lankinen, 50% start share, 41 starts, 19 wins, 110 goals against, 269 goals against average, a 901 save percentage, and 1,000 saves. But if Demko gets hurt, all of these numbers are going to scale up because the games played will go up. And the goals against numbers are solid. Save percentage numbers are solid. He's been a very solid goalie throughout his entire career. I think he's a goalie 3. So let's say you go Swayman, Saros, you could draft Kevin Lankinen to pair with those guys that will get some starts early in the early going. And if Demko ends up getting injured, Lankinen will take over and be arguably a top 15 starter going for the rest of the season. That will do it for the must draft goalies video. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.